Here we
All
are.
right, I think we're live.
Yeah.
Oh, we are live.
We
Yeah.
are live.
Hey, we're live. It's Wednesday. Welcome to the Witches Movie Coven, everybody. I should lose this. Okay. I am one of your 5 hosts. Let me introduce you to the other. We have Courtney Buckley.
That's me.
We have Richard-Lael Lillard. That's him. We have Jason
Sorry.
Mankey. And we have Heather Green. And thank you guys for holding on an extra 5 minutes because we were having technical difficulty. So, yeah, streaming problems. Sorry for the delay. We will save our intros and stuff for later, I guess. I was running late. I just got back from Chateau Marmont doing a seance. We talked to John Belushi. We did. I mean, complete intelligent conversation back and forth. A lot of things about drugs and alcohol, but still. Anyway, this week, should we start out with Richard? We are doing Hocus Pocus 1 and 2, the original and the one last year. So, Richard-Lael, are you going to give us the layout?
I will give you the layout of my completely unbiased.
I love this part.
Of
Always.
both films.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Buckle up.
Number 1. It's a classic. It was 30 years ago. I can't do math. Whatever 30 years ago was, that was when it was.
93.
And what was it?
93. 1993.
1963 was only 30 years ago.
Correct. Facts. Yep.
Anyway, 30 years ago, it was a classic. It was about the story about a kid who ends up by moving to Salem and trying to fit in. And of course, Salem is one of the witch capitals of the United States. And he is tricked into lighting the black flame candle. Tricked. He does it on purpose because he's trying to impress a girl who thinks he's dumb. And so he lights this candle thinking that he's so brave. And then, of course, these 3 Sanderson witches appear. Chaos ensues. There's a sense of drama. You meet the ex-boyfriend. They can't go to churches. They can't go on the Holy Land where the cemetery is. There's also a cat that is 300 years old who's been he's a boy who's a cat that uses 2 different voices for whatever reason. I don't know why. Jason Marsden plays the cat version, which is nice. Anyway, the Divine Mizim, they and the other 2, they chase down this kid and his sister, and they have to try to figure out how to be protected and away, and you know, they use the white salt as a circle, and they try to warn the parents, and of course it turns out into a song. I put a spell on you 'cause you're mine. And then they have to fly. They're tricked into thinking that the sunlight has arisen. They have encountered the devil and his wife. They think that the devil, of course, is the devil, but they don't understand why he doesn't recognize them as who they are, even though they're the Stepford Sanderson sisters. And then, of course, they end up by blowing up at the end. Anyway, witches come back. Now, my completely unbiased version of number 2. A group of friends, and by group I mean 2, because the third one is actually not a friend anymore. Teenage angst, playing with witchcraft even though they don't know what they're doing. Playing with witchcraft, lighting the candle on her birthday. One turns out to be a witch. She brings the Sanderson sisters back, and yawn song, yawn. Where?
Oh, that is how I express my discontent.
yawn, song, yawn. And then, of course, in the end, you find that the book says that in order to be the supreme witch, you have to lose what is closest to you. You find out that Winifred, her favorite thing in the world are her sisters, which is lovely and charming and sweet. They go into the netherworld. Q, now they're doing 3, Hocus Pocus 3. However, they fly on Roombas this time, which, okay, clever, haha, funny. The girls turn out to be witches. They did, however, completely I can't even talk tonight, rewrite it, because in the original one, the reason when they met the devil, they knew that that the devil had given them the book. And this one, it was not. It was another witch. It was a fellow witch who was going to eat them until she found out that they were witches. And she gives them the book, and the book actually turns out to be good, and it's fine. It was fine. It was okay. There was magic. That's what I will say. And none of it was on screen. It was not, it was Divine Miss M was great. She sang a song. That's it.
Now that we're clear on Willow had to get her 2 cents worth in. Okay. Yeah, speechless. Okay, Heather, anything you would like to
Let me add some historical context to that lovely, unbiased review of the plot of the movie. So basically, the first one, as Richard-Lael says, was released in 1993 during the Satanic Panic. This is at the heart, or actually, I shouldn't say it's the heart. It's the heart of Hollywood's reflection of the Satanic Panic, which actually began in the early 80s and reached a fever pitch by 1990. Now, and Hollywood was late to pick it up. Starting about 89 is when we start seeing it in Hollywood in full force. Of course, this movie, the Hocus Pocus original one, is definitely a reflection of that. You have 3 witches who want to eat children to maintain their power, to stay young, to stay alive. Very classic. You have 3 witches, of course. That's classic. That's very much a Macbeth fate type of image that we see. You have 3, they eat children, something that is of the Baba Yaga folkloric idea of the witch. You also have Salem. You have Halloween and all of those pieces as well. You have the sexy vamp witch in one. You have the older witch. You have the clown witches. You have all of the things. And of course, when they do the scene where they see the devil, they call him master. They think he's really the devil. We assume at this point that they're beholden to the devil. That's how they got their magic. Very, very much Satanic Panic reflection of the witch. Now, when that movie came out, as I've said in the past, it got panned for the most part. It was too scary for children, too silly for adults. Same with the witches. Same with the Wizard of Oz. Actually, got the same type of review. But somehow, and I argue it's the witches themselves. Somehow, this silly little Disney movie from 1993 got a cult following, and specifically within the witchcraft community. Modern witches loved these witches, even though they were, bad, even though what they were doing was bad. They got a cult following. And I would say it wasn't the movie. It was the witches. It was the Divine Miss Emma and her cohorts that made this movie what it became. And so you flash forward, 30 years, you can't represent witches the same way anymore. Lots have changed. And if you read just those chapters in my book, you can see how that happened, how the evolution from 1993 came to 2023. So with the 2023 movie, they had to figure out how to depict the witches in the way witches are being depicted now, while not messing too much with the story itself, in which they did. This movie focused on the witches way more than the original, which made it a better movie. Oh, wait a minute. I'm supposed to be unbiased right now, just giving history. So basically, they focused on the witches because Disney knew that the witches are what was bringing in the cash. This is what made this movie. If it was those 3 witches that brought this movie to 2023. And so this new movie gave them the backstory, which is very standard for the last 10 or 15 years. We're getting a lot of witch backstories, a lot of evil character backstories. Darth Vader was one of the ones we got first, and you see that happening very much. Think Maleficent, think the Joker, okay? You're starting to see these backstories in the 2010s. And so here we have a backstory. Of course, it's oppressed women, and all of these, I am going to give more later, Jason. I saw your message. I'm with you. So basically, so what we see is they didn't really retell the story. They twisted it to give them the backstory with the children, with the oppression, and why, explaining why they became who they became. And we understand, like a lot of the movies that were made in the last 10 or 15 years about witches, we understand why they became the way they, even if we don't like what they do, we understand why now. And this changes and gives them depth that they didn't have before. And then you of course have the modern witchcraft idea with the teenagers, very, very much current in Hollywood representation. So that's the change that happened. And it's fascinating to me how they did it, and they did it well. They obviously are paying attention. And I'm very curious to see how Hocus Pocus 3 is going to evolve. That is going to be a curious one. So I will stop there and I will interject later. Anyone else?
I love Hocus Pocus. I'll go next. The original can't be beat for me, even though I did enjoy the second one, because there's something nostalgic about it for me, but even more so, like, I don't remember being obsessed with it when I was younger, but I became obsessed with it when I was a little bit older, not, before my current age, but in my growing obsession with Salem, I became more obsessed with Hocus Pocus. And I think I've talked about this a lot on our show, that like I take a lot of, I don't have words. Richard-Lael, what did you do?
It's Wednesday. Anything can happen on Wednesday.
Seriously. We wear black on Wednesdays. So I have a lot of problems on movies that focus on Salem, because usually they change the history just enough to be annoying, and I don't like that. But to me here, this was all in fun, and it was not close to the history enough for it to be a problem. But what I did love is that there were so many places that they actually filmed the original in Salem. So there's places that you can go see still today that look exactly the same as they did in the film, and it's beautiful. It's so much fun to be able to go out, and people come, and they come just to see the Hocus Pocus sites, and then they have an opportunity to be educated on the real thing, which I think is kind of beautiful. So that to me, and there's so many good, I'll get into this later, but there's so many good quotes from the first one that I think about on a daily basis, literally a daily basis. I'll save it, but there's one that I wake up to every morning, and it's hard to compete with that with the second movie in my mind. But I do agree with what you're saying, Heather. Like, I loved the backstory. I loved having that backstory. I loved it being about that. I didn't care about the new characters. I cared about the witches. So I think you're onto something. But as far as it being better, I don't know. I don't know if I can get on board with that.
Well, it's okay. We can still be friends. Yeah. I will point out that this is one of, not every movie that you address on the Salem aspect is actually supposed to be literally Salem. Most of them are small New England town, and they just pulled from that. They use Salem in that way, but this one actually is supposed to be Salem.
Right. And I'm talking more like the flashbacks that go to Salem, like it'll say Salem and it will say 1693, which isn't even the right year. And then it will be, whatever their version of events is. And the reason why I don't like that is because then people come to Salem and they expect that they received like partially a true story, and that's not the way it is. So like the Crucible is the one that gets on my nerves the most, because everyone will come in and say, well, what about the Crucible? How much of the Crucible was true? Salem, I don't know, like that's it really, but it just it gets under my skin the same way as the question, where were the witches burned? I hate that question. In Europe, not here.
There is document, I said this before on the show, is that there's actually documents and articles from Salem from like 1905, and when they were doing so many Salem and witchcraft movies that are supposed to be historical, with Salem residents like walking out of the theaters back then in 1910 and stuff, because of that very reason, because they were already being burned. And I have all these production documents where they're yelling at each other saying, don't burn them, they didn't burn, the Salem people aren't going to buy tickets. It's literally been a thing for 100 years.
I would love copies, if I could, of those production documents, like poster size, so I can put them up back there. That would be my favorite thing.
We'll get together and talk.
Buy all your dolls. Yes.
My Halloween decorations. Yes.
Your dolls.
Dolls. Thank you, Luna, liking our goats. This is Black Phillip, and that's Black Phillip, and that's Black Phillip, and we all have Black.
My Black Phillip got to see Patti this weekend.
Yes, I know, and I pretended her Black Phillip was my Black Phillip because I just leave him home because I'm a bad mother.
But that's like our thing now. I like it.
I do too. It's like bring yours and let me pretend he's mine. Yes, I got to see Courtney this weekend. It was so great. We were in Massachusetts. We were in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And did you guys know? I like authenticity on this. Plymouth Rock is a hot tub. It is. At the John Carver Inn, they have the cheesiest pool and slide and setup. And Plymouth Rock, it says 1650, correct date. It's a hot tub. Who knew? I didn't know. They have the Mayflower too. They have it. It's the best, worst ever.
That's wild.
And you get kicked out. So anyway, back, speaking of authenticity in Salem. So, all right. So, you know that you cannot watch Hocus Pocus on planes since I live on planes. And I don't know why. I did last time. They must just make movies in and out and in and out. Thank goodness I just recently watched them. I'm going to go next because I just love those damn movies. Oh, yes, you can get Black Phillip for yourself. And you could buy Black Phillip all over the place from Amazon. And which even better yet is magical shops. I got mine. Plattsburgh, New York, I think. Whatever.
It was Plattsburgh.
Plattsburgh. So I don't know where that shop would be. So go to Amazon.
We really got to get these on mysterycontrol.com.
We got to get these on Mystery Control. We have to have Black Phillip. We do.
We have Black Phillip on things on mysterycontrol.com.
Yes.
So
but they need Black Phillip and the on thing. So anyway, I'm going to go next just because I don't have that much to say about them because I enjoyed both of those films immensely. Right and Wrong and three of my favorite actresses. I don't care how good or bad they were. I liked the music. And I was entertained and I wasn't there to be educated. I was just there to be entertained. And I hear my signal is dodgy, so I'm going to stop talking for a few minutes while I undodge. I don't know how to undodge, but go, Jason.
No, we're being dodgy. To me, this movie, like the first movie and the second movie, they really sum up Halloween in the modern American experience. They're loud, they're colorful. There's a little hint of something bad, but we've mostly taken that out of Halloween and turned it into more of a children's holiday, a party holiday, a social holiday. And if you were to say, Jason, give me one film that I want to show to people to introduce Halloween to them, this would be the movie. These are the movies I would show to them. It's like being in a haunted house on a movie screen, and much better than the Disney haunted house movies that they just can't get right. And not only that, you've got great performances because you've got Kathy Najimy and Sarah Jessica Parker, and most importantly, Bette Midler, who just crushes these films. And you can tell she's having the time of her life. There's a quote where she says, "The most fun I'd ever had on a movie set up until that point in my life was on Hocus Pocus." And it shows all the way through the entire film.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you. It is very much a reflection of Halloween. But you know, if I may give my opinion, I never liked the first one, and I have said that over in a lot of places, and and it has nothing to do with the reason I don't like it. Has nothing to do with the witches are depicted as bad. That's not the reason I didn't like it. I loved the way the three witches were portrayed. Fantastic. It's fun. You know, it's just not something I just never really caught on. It never really spoke to me. So when when Hocus Pocus 2 came out, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm going to have to watch another one of these movies. And I was very impressed. I enjoyed Hocus Pocus 2 far more. And again, it wasn't because I'll watch a movie that portrays, I've watched thousands of witch movies, and there's ones I love that portray witches horribly and wrong and all that kind of stuff. Nothing to do with that. It had to do with the balance of the movie. And in the first movie really was just a kids movie, and it really felt like just your average Disney movie. Again, you know, whether better than Halloween Town, better made than Halloween Town, because this was made for screen rather than made for TV, etc. The production value was much higher. So, you know, it was fine. But, you know, number one, I do not like talking animals that were really popular in the 90s. It drives me up the wall. So when an animal starts flapping its lips, I'm like, I can't take it. Like, this animal will not flap its lips. This Binks will not flap its lips. I cannot take that. So in the, you know, that kind of thing, and some of the stuff was just not my taste. So I can separate out my historian from my watcher and say, no, I loved the second one was way more fun. It really owned the witches. It owned the entire zaniness of it. The comedy was better. And, you know, like Jason said, you can see the three main actresses just are having a blast.
Do you think, Heather, I got a question for you. We're about the same age. Do you think that maybe we don't gravitate towards the first one as much as others because we were older when we saw it? Like at least 20 years old? I mean, how old was Courtney when she saw this movie, or Richard-Lael? A little younger than us, I'm guessing.
Well, if this was 93, I would have been 76.
Exactly.
I was 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the problem with this movie, though. But kids were scared of it. They didn't want to watch. And then adults thought it was silly. And I don't remember the first time I saw this movie. So I don't remember if I saw it in the theater or it's not one that stuck out. And, you know, it felt like just another silly Disney attempt with some big name actresses. And it just didn't resonate with me on an entertainment value, the first one. And it maybe I was just too cool, you know, as a 20-year-old, just too cool to watch it. I don't know. But even today I'll watch it and I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. Moving on. I liked the second one, though. I was very pleasantly surprised. I was laughing out loud. I love the Roomba bit. When they go in the store dealing with all of the stuff for their face, the potions, yeah, it's really funny. And I love the backstory. I think they did that brilliantly. I was very pleasantly surprised. So that's my take. And I love that poster that they're showing. The colors are so vibrant and beautiful. So I think Disney did it right. And I won't say that all the time as much as I love Disney. I will not say that all the time. I will call them out. And they did it right with number 2. Sorry, Courtney. We're just not going to agree on this one.
I don't agree. I don't.
But that's normal for us, right?
Hocus Pocus number 1, I thought was so charming. The music was so much more entertaining. It was. There was a sense of danger. There was, you know, they're villainous witches who are going to gobble up these children. I mean, where there was no real danger in the other one. Oh, you're a witch. Oh. I just thought it was. I thought it was nostalgic in the worst, disgusting way. I thought that it was the Hocus Pocus 2 was so sort of. I mean, it was a diverse cast, which I love, but it was sort of there's the black one and there's the Latin one and then the white one. She's not really with us. And then it was like, you know, I just didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I didn't. And then why the fellow who had the witch shop and tricked the girls into lighting a candle? Why? Well, there was no real purpose. So he saw the real Sanderson, which is 30 years ago when he was a kid. So he knows that they like to eat children. Why does he just suddenly want to? And then he just is, oh, I'm going to help the witches now. Oh, never mind. No, actually, I want to be good now. Like there is no conflict.
for the movie plot line. They couldn't have a movie plot line without it, Richard-Lael.
He wanted to experience that magic again in his life. And the only way to experience it was to bring them back. And he's an adult and who was not a virgin. What was he scared of? Nothing.
I want to think, am I the only one who liked both movies? I'm reading, scrolling, because there's a lot of people. I love the first one, hated the second one. There's people I love the second one, hated the first one. I'm not the only one who liked them both.
I liked both. I liked both of them.
Okay, you and me, babe.
But I love that. I was just gonna say, like, I picked out that one aspect as I was talking earlier that I do love the backstory of the witches. It's hilarious. There's jokes in there. There's one joke in there that I feel like you have to work in Salem to understand, but it's when I forget what they say, but then all of a sudden it's like a Walgreens, right? And so I know they worked with Walgreens. There was like a promotional thing, whatever, but working in Salem, when people ask you, and this is horrible to laugh at, but when people ask you where were the executions, we have to say, oh, it's over there, like down the way behind a Walgreens, because that's where it is. And so when I was watching the second one and I was laughing and I was enjoying it, and that the Walgreens popped up, I screamed out loud. I thought it was the funniest thing. And I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but like the amount of times that we have to say behind a Walgreens is just insurmountable. Like, I loved both of them. And if I could, like, touching just real quick on the age thing, like, I was 7 when it came out. I don't remember the first time I saw it. I don't remember liking it until I was older, like much older, in my teens or 20s. And then I showed my son when he was very little. Like, that was how we started Halloween, was watching Hocus Pocus. So I asked him the other day, I said, do you want to watch these movies with me for Witch's Movie Coven? And he was like, oh, which ones are we watching? And I told him, and he was like, oh, I'll watch the first one, but I won't watch the second one. And I was like, what do you mean? One's down for the second one? And he was like, one's down, one's in hell for the second one.
Wow.
You raise your child better, Courtney. You raise your child better.
I just found, I think for me is that the witches themselves were really the draw, and they didn't get enough screen time in the first one for me. And I think the second one really, and I didn't need it to be scary. I didn't need this movie to do all of those other things. I think they were secondary, they weren't important, and it was really the witches that were drawing me in. And so the movie becomes a disappointment in the first one. The second one is all focused on the witches. You really get a showcase of them, and you really dive into all that stuff. And I think that's more enjoyable. I don't care that it's not scary. I don't care about the threat. It's just a showcase for the three of them, and that is what I enjoyed. I think, and I'd have to watch them several times over to really pinpoint. But I don't know what makes someone want to like the first one. Nostalgia definitely would be one reason why they like the first one over the second one. I don't know. I think the interesting thing, and this is literally something that I have not investigated. I must say that as a journalist, I always have to qualify when I state facts that may not be facts. But I've read in a couple places that Hocus Pocus, the first one, because the second one's new, the first Hocus Pocus is the most watched, most common film played in Halloween on Halloween lists, watched at Halloween. It is the Halloween movie. And I would not doubt that, for the very reason Jason pointed out, and actually everybody's pointed out. It's the quintessential Halloween movie in all respects, American Halloween movie. So I wouldn't be surprised if the polls were right there.
I'm sorry. Can we see Binks again? You have Binks? Do we all need to get a Binks? Oh.
Yeah, she has Binks while she disparaged the name of Binks, talking about she doesn't like him talking.
No, I don't like him talking. This is actually not Binks. Just looks like Binks. This is Puck. This is a little stuffed animal that was my cat. He passed away in 2017. His name was Puck, after the Shakespeare character, not the hockey equipment, which many people thought. And so he is a stuffed animal of Puck. But he looks very much like Binks, and he's been hanging out. He hangs out in the around this time, and he's been hanging out with Black Phillip on my cabinet up there. So yeah, and he does not open his mouth and talk. No, he does not do that.
I mean, I kind of liked when the animals talked in the 90s. Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It was so creepy, but I loved it. It was so cute. And then Jason Marsden was brilliant as the voice of Binks. I really felt sorry for Jason Marsden as Binks. Now, I don't know why they didn't use the kid whose voice, when he was a human, that drove me crazy. I didn't understand why that they couldn't just have one actor play both, but whatever. I don't know. But I loved it. I loved the first one. I thought the music was much more entertaining. I thought it was much more apropos. I thought in the second one it felt very contrived. I did like the backstory, even though it was kind of I thought it was nice, but I thought that it was a little, this is why I do bad things. You know, sometimes people don't need a backstory. Like Willy Wonka does not need a backstory. He just exists.
Amazing. It's going to be the best movie of Christmas this year.
Willy Wonka just exists because he exists. The three exist because they exist. It's like going back to the three fates in Greek mythology. They just exist. They just exist.
But that's been the trend. And if you look back, I think the trend began sometime in around 2010 or so. And I just studied witch films, but you can see it happening before that, or you can see it happening in other genres. I mean, I mentioned Darth Vader earlier, got his backstory in the 90s, but you see it in the Marvel movies, you see it in superhero movies, you see it in sci-fi. You start to see Maleficent got her backstory, and you just see it more. It's a common trend right now. Instead of inventing a whole new story, they're going to give you a backstory to somebody because that's something people want right now. I think Practical Magic's getting its backstory, or it just got a novel that's its backstory, and it's not just bad witches. But the interesting thing is, for me, studying witchcraft in film and witches in film, since so many of them are evil, is that these backstories are giving them a reason for being. And that's it's very interesting. And then you wind up with the oppressed woman story. You wind up is that people are only witches because they've been damaged, which is a whole nother conversation to have at a whole other time in another place. But it created this whole new persona for the cinema witch, is that, witches are evil, or witches practice witchcraft because of their backstory, because they've been oppressed, because they've been damaged. And so you have that in, you have it with so many, even the Love Witch, that's her backstory, even though maybe we'll get it back. Maybe Anna Biller will do a backstory for her too. But it's very common. So
I don't think it's so much about the backstory. It's about making characters that are supposed to be the villains, characters that you love, because the villain becomes so important and so big and so popular that they're tweaked and turned into, like, if not the hero, at least an anti-hero. You see it a lot with the Marvel movies. Loki was the villain in the first Avengers movie. Now he has his own TV show. Magneto has always been the number one nemesis of the X-Men, but he's always kind of a good guy too when they need him to. Apollo Creed becomes a good guy in the Rocky movies after being the villain in the first and second films. This is a long trope, and what we saw is that everyone loves the Sanderson sisters. Let's make them sympathetic, and that's.
And I cannot wait until someone does a backstory of Witch's movie Coven, and then they give me a backstory. I'm going to see he hates Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka because of this, and that's why you love him. He doesn't like the backstory of the Sanderson sisters, and he's a good guy. You see, you understand why he's a satanic witch.
What happens in the 2010s with the witches is you have all these evil witches, getting backstories, as I said, but it's aligning itself with this complicated understanding of modern witches. So modern witches are becoming more and more prevalent. They're becoming more integrated into Hollywood, writers, directors, people more interested in the occult generally. It's so you start to get this awareness of it. So you get it more and more nuanced over the 2000s, starting in the 90s, and then more and more nuanced to the point where you get to 2010s, where they're now explaining, we might not like what Maleficent did. We can't change what she did. they can't change Maleficent's story. We're not talking about Maleficent, but it's a similar thing. But they can give her a backstory and explain that she was literally raped. I mean, if you've seen the movie, and then that's why she became who she is, and she becomes this strong witch character. And so you see that happening, and that's what happens to the Hocus Pocus sisters. And it makes them sympathetic, like you said, Jason. It gives them depth, and it makes them, it aligns them with what we understand about modern witchcraft, closer to what we understand about modern witchcraft. And it's not as repugnant as it was when the original Sanderson sisters came out. And they would have gotten a backstory in the 1990s, because witchcraft was evil during the Satanic Panic. So they didn't get it. Now they have to have it. They have to have it. Witches aren't just evil, they're complicated. You see that in the Sabrina TV show. Witchcraft is now much more complicated in its presentation, both in and out of on and off the screen, I would say. Way more complicated than it used to be.
All right. Do we have any quotes yet? Should we move on with?
Oh, I'm ready when you're ready.
Yes, I am so wanting quotes. Amok.
There was one of them. That was one of them. And I say that all the time. Also, someone in the comments, it's way down, so I don't know if I can find it, but someone way earlier when I was talking about this got my quote. Oh, Lunalicious. When she like opens the shutters, and this is the first one. She opens the shutters, goes, "Oh, look, another glorious morning. Makes me sick." And that's every time I open my eyes in the morning and I see the sun shining in my eye, I say, "Oh, here we go. Another glorious morning. It makes me sick." I also loved, and I wrote it down, give me 1 second here. I have a story about a quote. So as I told you a little bit ago, I let my son watch this when he was younger and loved it. And the one thing that he took from this movie was the word yabos. So moving forward for the next several years, everything was yabos. And he still giggles to this day about that. So Max likes your yabos. In fact, he loves them. And the whole exchange with the bus driver for me was like just top tier. Where they're asking like, what is it called? It's a bus. To convey gorgeous creatures such as yourselves to the most forbidden desires. Well, fancy. We desire children. Well, it may take me a couple of tries, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. It's just amazing.
That scene is dirty. That scene is dirty with the bus driver.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Sure is. And then hold on. Let me scroll down here. In Hocus Pocus 2, I'm Billy Butcherson. I love him. He's one of my favorite characters. So the whole scene where he's coming back to life and he's trying to explain that he's not a bad zombie. He's not a bad zombie. And he says, "Hey, stop, I'm a good zombie. I'm not even chasing thee." And the other guy says, "Stay back and don't try to eat my brains." So I love that. And then he says very snarkily, "I simply wish to know why you were digging up my grave." And Gilbert, I think his name is Gilbert. He says, "And I simply wish to know why you're alive." So I feel like a lot of these have entered their way directly into my everyday vernacular, and I like them a lot, especially amok. I run around Salem sometimes when I'm feeling frisky, and I amok on the middle of the street. So there you go. There's Courtney's quote corner.
Thank you.
I like that.
I like that too. All right. Any more comments from us or from? Oh yes, go Courtney.
Amber, the only bad part about watching this movie with your young children is when they ask what a virgin is. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Right there. I'm just gonna leave it. We don't have to explain anymore. Just that. Yep. Exactly.
I third that.
Mm-hmm.
We had years ago when I lived in San Francisco, I would do drag, and should I tell you my drag name? I don't know if I should tell you my drag name. I'm not going to tell you my drag name. No, I don't think I should. Anyway, I did drag. Okay, I'll tell you the drag name, but okay. I'm embarrassed. The drag name was Cleopatra Denial.
I don't think I heard that. I think I heard enough.
Her name was Cleopatra Denial.
I'm dead.
And so we did. We had a Divine Miss M night at, oh goodness, it was, I can't even remember now. It was called Meow Mix, but it was at some other club. Anyway, and so everyone was doing like Divine Miss M songs, and nobody but me. I was the only one who did I Put a Spell on You. And I did like a $2 costume of Winifred Sanders, and I come out and I said, "Hello, San Francisco, name's Winifred. What's yours? I put a spell on you." Anyway, so that was that speaks to my very Black soul.
I love it.
That's
That will get a
awesome.
backstory in the next film.
I'll get that backstory.
Yeah.
Do you have a picture of yourself as the Divine Miss M, Winifred?
Oh
Sanders?
goodness! You know what? If you look for that drag name,
Okay, Googling it right
look
now.
for that
Can you say it
drag
one more
name on
time?
YouTube and Meow Mix. If you look for Meow Mix and Cleopatra Denial, you will find it.
Oh, that is going to be a search.
But that was like, oh goodness, that was like, oh, I don't know, 15 years ago.
Fantastic.
Oh, I'm deep diving. I'm deep diving
Yeah,
YouTube
what a
right
good
now.
question. It'll be on a T-shirt by the end of the show.
Oh, I'm looking. I'm gonna find it.
End of the show. I'm sure.
On a pillow.
A pillow,
Oh.
a T-shirt, all of the above.
Yeah,
Our
I'm
own
gonna
vote.
need to take a screenshot so I can do one. I can have one
Yes,
of these.
okay.
I will actually tell you that there is. Thank you, Courtney, for showing that one, because there's one of the Meow Mixes that's still up. I don't even know how it is still there. Where it was Easter, and I did the Alleluia chorus combined with Thriller, and my sarong falls off and my bits fall out. So for those of you who might be curious,
Wardrobe malfunction.
it was a wardrobe malfunction. It's so far back you don't see it, but the few times I watched it, I went, oh, there's
I can't get over the song mix. First of all, that's
actually,
incredible.
it works out really beautifully because I came out as Jesus, and I had a halo, like
my
zombie
God.
Jesus, and I had painted my body to look really ripped, more ripped than I was, and it comes out. La 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 thriller. It's fabulous.
Oh my goodness.
And you could just play one over the other, and it absolutely works perfectly.
Maybe when we do a live show, we could do some of our reminiscent things of our past.
Mhm.
You
I
could
would
do
love that.
That would be
Richard-Lael.
definitely be R-rated.
Mhm.
Mine would be
Put a
X.
disclaimer on things if I
Mine
was
would
a
be
Fox.
X. Mine is definitely X.
We could be
Yeah.
our X-rated. All right. I think we need to move on because it is getting 6:48. Anybody other quotes? Anything? We are here. Thank you guys, everybody along the way in the chat room who's giving us your thoughts. Oh, our OnlyFans version. That will be our OnlyFans version. And if you guys subscribe to our OnlyFans.
I do have my Mankey movie minutes for both of these films.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I have been fighting a cold all day, and hopefully I don't lose my voice while I'm doing this. And I also just don't think I'm as funny today. So we'll see how this goes. I hope I don't disappoint anybody. People are excited about these now, so here we go. All right.
So into it.
Yeah. Journey back to Salem, Massachusetts in 1993. A magical place where the sun rises at incredibly high speeds, and the temperature is always an absolutely perfect 64 degrees, no matter the time of day. Meet Max, a cool California kid who acts like a very bland kid from the Midwest, who is also an airhead virgin. Not taking Max's virginity is Allison, whom Max thinks has nice yabos. Enjoy a town where teenagers are free to run around at all hours of the day with no repercussions and can break into centuries-old houses and play with priceless artifacts. Max and Allison are up against the fearsome Sanderson sisters, who are just too much fun to ever truly be scared of. Feel the wind beneath their brooms as these witches in the city become queens of the hill. Be truly frightened as real-life brother and sister Gary Marshall and Penny Marshall play a bickering married couple. And 8-year-old Danny falls in love with the 300-year-old cat named Biggs, who used to be a teenage boy. Boy, that's some weird-ass subtext. Watch Bette Midler have more fun than should be allowed on a movie set in the movie that captures the spirit of Halloween better than any other, Hocus Pocus.
Yay!
That is brilliant.
Yeah, and I really, watching this today, I was really creeped out by Danny and Binks together. Remembering that he's a 300-year-old boy, man, whatever, cat. All right, here's the second one. All right. Magneto, Loki, Darth Vader, Severus Snape, Maleficent, Apollo Creed. The Sanderson sisters experience the movie that rewrites the story of Winifred, Sarah, and Mary Sanderson, making them sympathetic characters in the tradition of other great movie villains who become good guys in a later film. Curse the clergy and civil authorities of late 17th century Salem for daring to separate the Sanderson sisters. Thank heavens, or is that hell, that Hannah Waddingham was there to empower these young ladies. And speaking of empowerment, meet 3 new witches who are all about girl power after overcoming their differences. Celebrate the bonds of friendship and sisterhood that every witch movie now feels obligated to celebrate. It's the sequel that some of us think is just as much fun as the original, but with a more dour color palette and better special effects. Join Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, and a newly empowered Sarah Jessica Parker, who gets dialogue and real characterization in this second film. Did I shed a small tear at the end of this film? Yes. Yes, I did. Because we are nothing without our families.
Oh, yay!
Oh my God, that's brilliant. Both of those. You have a new career ahead of you, Jane.
Checks are in the mail for all 4 of you. Thank you so much.
Johnny, hi Johnny. All right. Well, we have a couple of things left to do, but we have one thing to do next, and that is we get to vote on this. We get to rate. Now, I guess we're rating. Do we rate one and then the other, and then
Let's
both?
do 1 and 2 because.
And then do it as a duology, so we rate 3 times.
Okay, all right. So, all right, everybody, and we want you guys in the chat room. Wands up or wands down on the number 1. Up, 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 up. Well, midway for Heather. Wow, that's so odd. All right. Everybody else, your family jewels. You guys are voting horns up. Horns up. We got horns up and wands up. And wands up. So wands up is definitely winning on the first one, except for Heather. All right, wands up for nostalgia. We've got all sorts of things. Now we're going to vote just on movie 2, 30 years later, or almost 30 years later. Wands 2.
It's so far down, it's in hell.
Nathan will be so excited to hear you say that.
Okay, up now. We're the same mix, 4 ups and a midway, except that it is Richard-Lael this time. Now in the chat room, we've got Christina is down, one's up, more ups though. So these movies are winning. One's up, 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 up. They're writing it many times. Midland to down. Oh, Joni, Midland to down. Okay. Now this takes mathematical skills. Now we vote it as a pair of movies. Then next year we're going to have to do the 3s. So putting them together, rating one's up, one's down on 1 or 2. Together they are higher rated. Richard-Lael is almost erect.
That sounds like something for our OnlyFans broadcast.
Yeah. Wrong show, Hattie.
Sorry. Up. Well, I mean, you were so close. It's been a really long day. All right. So this is, do we know what we're doing next? We have one's up leads, not across the board. I love you guys. Thank you. So,
oh my God, my stomach hurts.
so yeah. Okay. I could say something else, but I'm not going to. This is a family show, and I'm not going to. All right. So, do we know what we're doing next week? Week.
Oh, it's our anniversary show. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Next week.
There's specific episodes. I think we should probably we'll put those out possibly in our social media so you know which episodes to watch, because there's 4 specific episodes. Really good. Oops.
Did we say what movie? What TV?
What? We're watching The Simpsons next week.
Oh, The Simpsons. I'm sorry, I missed that. I was hiding myself. Simpsons. Yeah. Okay, Simpsons. 1 year. We have been doing this for a year. We're gonna figure it out soon enough.
Do you know? Can I just real quick? It popped up on my Facebook feed, my Facebook memories. I think it was like yesterday or the day before. It was a year from yesterday or the day before that we came together and did Hocus Pocus last year. Yeah.
Really? So it was an anniversary of an anniversary, and we did. Okay.
I don't remember doing Hocus Pocus. I don't think I was in that one.
I don't think it was all, we were not all together yet.
Mm-mm.
Well, we're all together and we all agree that I am right.
We all agree that you are right. So, okay, we only have a couple minutes left. We did start a couple minutes late, though. So, everybody will check in and say what you have going, where people can find you, what's going on. Let's start with Courtney.
That's me. So I am where the wands down go, right? Because it is October in Salem. So I cannot breathe. I'm breathing, living life in Salem now. So that's where you'll find me for the next month. Except I did play hooky from work. I almost got in trouble to come see Patti at Mass Paracon, which was delightful. I had a great time. It was probably one of the coolest days that I've had in a long time. I love Michigan Paracon, but that was my first time at Mass Paracon. It was amazing. And can I show you? I bought some. Well, this should come as no surprise, but I bought something. It's made from casket wood.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Yep. It's serial killers, right?
Wow.
It is serial killers. And while we were there, Patti was like, "You have to come over and look at this. I think you'll like it." And it was Jeffrey Dahmer's fork, and I almost passed out.
She did. And your son was brilliant. Your son was.
Yeah, that was his first Paracon. And it was very emotional. He did really good, and everyone was so kind to him. It was amazing. Also, actually, I do have a thing to mention. I am going back to Middleborough Town Hall, which I don't know, Patti, if you were there, but Richard-Lael, you were. We did an episode there of Scared and Alone with Christy Parrish, and so I don't know what day of the week I'm on. I think it's next Friday. It is. Next Friday is Friday the 13th, and I get to go to the ghost hunt. And it's Patti's birthday. I will do this in honor of you then. I'm going back to Middleborough Town Hall to be a guest at an investigation that they're hosting.
Yay! Oh, that'll be so magic.
Yes. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Is that something people can get tickets for and go to, or is it a private thing?
I don't know if it's sold out yet. It is public, so you can get or there were tickets. So I'll try to post that somewhere, but I think they might be sold out.
Okay, thank you. All right, Jason.
I'll be at the Festival of Souls outside of Memphis next week, which is a pagan and witch gathering. And then I will be with the Sin City Witches in Las Vegas for their Pagan Pride Day. I think that's Saturday, the 11th of November. Yeah, that's Saturday, the 11th of November. So very exciting. And then, of course, if you live in the Bay Area, I'll be out and about celebrating Halloween/Samhain.
Beautiful. Thank you. Richard-Lael.
I am everywhere that the Gentleman Psychic is sold. You can find me on thegentlemanpsychic.com. Also, you can look for Cleopatra Denial on YouTube.
I'm going to need a link because my deep dive did not bring
I
anything
know
up,
it's
so.
been a while. They may be taken down. I don't know. I haven't looked in a few years. You could also find me I'll be in Youngstown, Ohio for a few days at the end of this month. So you can look for me there.
Thank you. And Heather.
Yeah, this is busy month for me. If you're following me on socials right now, I'm in the middle of my 31 days of witch movies and TV shows. And this year's theme, I've been doing this for every year for several years, and I pick a theme. So this year's theme is animated witches. So all of the witches, can I get to 31? Yes, I can. And the challenge is on. So I've done a few already. Check my feeds out. They're on all of the, I'm on all the regular, I've got 4 threads, Twitter or whatever it's called, Facebook and Instagram. I'm posting them all there. Check that out. I post, you can find me at heathergreen.net. All the stuff I'm doing. I'm working on articles. I'm working with authors and not going anywhere, but I do have some online talks that I'm going to be giving at some private events this month. I'm getting those scheduled. They're popping up. So it's a busy month. And Bewitched Home, which just came up on the screen. Thank you. If you need some witchy goods for Halloween or for gifts for the holidays coming up after Yule, you can check that out. We're going to be doing some discounts over the next time. And you can also, if you want a signed copy of my book, you can get it through Bewitched Home. There is the phone holder. Those are phone holders. We have lots of fun home decor that has witchy themes at Bewitched Home, all handmade. So yes, there'll be discounts there coming up soon. So check that out as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I Patti Negri, pattinegri.com to get to all my correct social media. On the weekend of the 20th and 21st, I'm going to be in Texas, the Dallas area at Haunted Hill House. Supposed to be really, really scary with my partner in Paraflix, Natalie Jones, and Haley Paranormal Princess, and Alicia Cosmic Divine, and Christy Vampira. So all girl paranormal investigation, and David Taylor is our token male. And it'll be really fun. And then I'm headed for NOLA. So I hope to see some of you in New Orleans for the Vampire Ball and all the festivities that go with it. If you are in LA next week on Friday the 13th, my birthday, there's going to be a vampire salon, Babylon, at a private club in Hollywood, to be announced the day or two before, but it's right in Hollywood. And other than that, I too am doing a contest right now. Tell me your best ghost stories, because I'm always telling my ghost stories from TV and stuff. So I'm going to keep putting it up. I want your real ghost stories. The top 4 go up on my website and get a prize. I haven't figured out what yet. It's either between a Winnebago and no, I don't know what it is yet. So, I'm all over the place. And then I'm headed to Mid-Michigan, Paracon, and then I'm headed to Tasmania, which I have no idea where that is. So all sorts of fun things coming up. But like us and follow us, because as silly as it is, that makes a difference to us. And we do have a Witches Movie Coven Facebook page, and we do have Mystery Control. Now we have on Instagram. So if you want all the fine outfits like that, like a Richard-Lael pillow with dragon power panties, you can get them at mysterycontrol.com. And if you're trying to save some money right now, just do code Patti, P-A-T-T-I, and you can get 25% off all of it. 25% off that fabulous Richard-Lael pillow, 25% off a unisex Coven season 2 hooded cloak, beautiful dresses made for things, t-shirts. We dress you from your feet, socks, to your underwear, to your outerwear, hats, and everything in the middle. So for Witches Movie Coven, for Patti Negri, for my spellcaster line, for power panties, for Bro Witch, we got shoes. Yeah, we got not from our shoes all the way up. We got Bro Witch, and of course Scared and Alone. So you guys, we could dress you for the rest of the year, next year too. So yeah, a Winnebago. I'm working on a Winnebago, or not. Anyway, you guys, thank you. We have gone long, but we started late, so it's still our regular hour. We have one more thing to do, and we want you guys to do it with us. So what do witches do? We cackle. 1, 2, 3. Here we go.